join us. This is a webinar that we decided to put together as a way to not only highlight some of the accomplishments of the companies that have won the ENERGY STAR Partner of the Year award, but also sort of explain to you as ENERGY STAR partners or people perhaps interested in becoming a partner about what this award is. And so what I'm going to like to do today is to begin our session by providing some background on what the Partner of the Year award is, how do you apply, what are the criteria, some little other sort of details about what it is. Then we're going to hear from Kat Benitez from Northwestern University. They are a Partner of the Year award winner. And then we're going to hear from Jim Kubitsky from Olin Brass, also a Partner of the Year award winner. And both Kat and Jim are going to share with you sort of their story about how they developed their energy programs and how they sort of the road and journey that they took to actually achieve this award, because it is a significant undertaking to not only apply but also to meet all the criteria that's going to get you into the winner's circle for the award. So let me begin with just sort of giving you some context for the award. As I think everyone knows, recognition is a big part of the ENERGY STAR program, and we offer a variety of different types of recognition. We have some plant level recognition through ENERGY STAR certification and buildings recognition through ENERGY STAR certification. We also recognize industrial plants that make energy intensity reductions, and those are very important types of recognition programs for helping to drive change, and particularly to raise awareness and engage people at a facility level. But our true premier award is the ENERGY STAR Partner of the Year award. And in the area of ENERGY STAR that focuses on energy efficiency in buildings and industrial plants, our focus is on recognizing companies with world-class energy management programs. And so this is our Organizational Management and Leadership Award, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. The Partner of the Year awards are actually given across all the different sides of ENERGY STAR, and I'm sure most of you are aware that ENERGY STAR involves products. It also involves new construction in houses. But today we're focusing on the ENERGY STAR Partner of the Year award for organizations that own facilities and manage energy. And within this category of sort of the buildings and industrial plant sort of universe, we actually have sort of three different award categories. The one we'll focus on today is primarily the energy management category, but we also have an award program for companies that provide services and products to help organizations become more efficient, as well as we also recognize outstanding utility programs that design programs that really deliver energy efficiency to utility customers. Also within the ENERGY STAR Partner of the Year award, there's actually some different distinctions. We call our Partner of the Year award is something that is given to companies that basically win this award for the first two times. And if you begin to win it more than that, then we put you into another category or a different distinction, which is known as our Sustained Excellence category. And that's awarded to companies that meet all the criteria of the Energy Management Award, but have won it at least twice prior. And then there's also another award, and this award is not given out as often, but we call it the Corporate Commitment Award, which is an award that's given to an organization that demonstrates leadership across multiple areas of the ENERGY STAR program. And by that I mean typically across both, say, the commercial industrial side of ENERGY STAR, but also on maybe the product labeling side, or it could even be the residential new construction side. So it's an award that recognizes that there have been some companies that have achieved a real level of distinction in multiple parts of the ENERGY STAR program. So let's talk a little bit about what this Excellence in Energy Management Award is all about. What it recognizes is, first and foremost, organizations, and it has to be organization-wide, not just one plant or a couple of your best facilities, but really your whole organization, whether you're a company, whether you're a school district, a university, a hospital, an industrial organization. It doesn't matter as long as you're looking at the entire organizational structure. And we want to see that you're obviously have been improving your energy efficiency and you're saving energy. We also want to see that you have a well-established energy program. Someone is responsible. You have an energy policy. You have procedures and practices in place that really demonstrate that you're looking at what you're doing around energy is not just a few projects here and there or occasionally benchmarking and portfolio manage or maybe attending an industrial focus meeting once in a while, but really you have a concentrated effort focusing on continuously improving the energy performance of your operations and your facilities. We're also looking to recognize organizations that are leaders within their communities, whether it's in the building side or on the industrial side or even the service and product provider side. You know, are you out there sort of pushing the envelope, bringing new ideas, being a real champion for energy efficiency, not only within your own organization, but within maybe the communities where you operate, maybe with your customers, maybe with your suppliers as well. And obviously it's called Energy Star Partner of the Year for a reason. We want to see that you're actively involved with the Energy Star program and that you use our resources. So let's talk a little bit more about specifically what characteristics award winners have. So when I say good energy management program, what we're looking to see is your energy program aligned with our guidelines for energy management. So the guidelines for energy management is a guidance document. It provides a framework that's applicable to any kind of organization that owns and operates facilities that use energy. And it provides a framework for how you structure an energy management program. And the application for this award specifically asks you questions that are basically asking you to identify how did you satisfy or fulfill the different aspects of the Energy Star guidelines for energy management, sort of management elements. We also want to see that you use Energy Star's tools and resources, and not just one Energy Star tool. Maybe you just use Portfolio Manager. No, we want to see that you use a variety of them. Do you use our other calculators? Do you use our recognition materials? You know, do you celebrate you know, getting an Energy Star building certified? Do you use the treasure hunt guide? What other sort of information from our program are you using and incorporating into your program? As well as how are you communicating about what you're doing with your energy program, and how do you leverage Energy Star as part of that communications? Do you tell your investors that you're an Energy Star partner or your buildings are certified? Do you work with people in your community to let them know, like, hey, our facilities are, best in class because they're Energy Star certified, and you should be aware of this? Are you communicating to your employees that, we all have a role to play in energy efficiency, not just at home, but at work as well? And so we want to see that you are actively communicating about energy efficiency as being a strong advocate for it, and that you leverage some of our tools and resources in those communications. And of course, we want to see that you're active in the partnership. Whether do you attend meetings, do you talk about Energy Star when you give a presentation at a meeting or a conference? Are you involved in building competitions that are linked with Energy Star? Do you participate in industrial focus meetings? Do you come to the buildings partner meetings or the annual industrial partners meetings? So we want to see that you're actively involved. And again, as I mentioned before, we want to see a demonstration that you are, of course, saving energy and becoming more efficient. So the award is given out to quite a number of companies here. On the left-hand column, you see that the companies and organizations that have earned the Partner of the Year award this year. That means they've either on their second year or their first year of winning this award. And then on the right-hand columns, you see the list of companies that have achieved what we call sustained excellence, meaning they've met all this criteria, and actually not only have they met this criteria, but they've actually done steps to further improve their program, because we want to see continuous improvement and growth in your energy program over years. So these companies on the left have continued to be leaders in their sort of in their areas and their sectors. They continue to grow out their program and continue to improve or maintain a high level of energy performance over the years. And there's some companies here that have achieved sustained excellence for 12 and 14 years. So that is really quite a big accomplishment. And if you want to know more about some of the things that these organizations have done, go to the Energy Star EnergyStar.gov/awards website, and there are profiles written up about what each of these organizations have done. So for those of you who are interested, there is an application process. I consider it sort of a formal process because you have to download the application. It's a fairly long narrative that you will have to pull together. It has to be quite concise because there's a lot of things that you need to pull into that. It's typically in between 7 to 8 pages long, plus attachments that you can use to highlight things, and we do like to see pictures or examples of materials that you're using. We typically post the application on the Energy Star Awards website, usually in late summer. This year, like every year, we kind of go back and look for ways that we can improve our own application process, so I can't give you an exact date at this point, but typically it's usually in the late summer. And then usually the applications are due in early December. If you're new to this process and you have never applied before and you would like to see an example of what past applications have looked like, we can send you a copy of last year's application. We can't guarantee it's the same one, but you can look at it to get a sense of what we're looking for. Plus, on the awards website, we also have a document that describes some of the criteria that we look at when we evaluate companies and organizations for their applications. So with that, what I would like to do now is actually turn it over to some of our award winners who can share with you some of what they've done, because these really are award-winning energy management programs that really have distinguished themselves. And so we're first going to hear from Kat Benitez, who actually has a unique distinction within the Energy Star program as actually having won the Energy Star Award once before. But I'm not going to say who and where she won it with, because I'm going to let Kat tell you that. So Kat, I'm going to bring up your slides for you, and I'm going to make you a presenter, and you can tell us about your journey towards the Energy Star Award at Northwestern University. And you'll need to take your phone off mute.
Thanks, Walt, and good afternoon, everyone. I see we have quite an audience today. I'm really excited to be sharing Northwestern's Energy Star story. It's been quite a journey, and you'll learn more about that later on as I go through my presentation. But a little bit about me. Thanks for that intro, Walt. It is definitely a privilege to be able to support Northwestern's sustainability initiatives as their Director of Sustainability. One of our objectives was to partner up with national partnerships like Energy Star to leverage our program in support of our sustainability goals. And one of our goals was to achieve Partner of the Year award, having a Partner of the Year award. And so we're really excited to have been able to accomplish that. But it took a couple of years, and you'll learn more about that. But I've been here now 2 years, and prior to that, I was working with the Department of Energy's Better Buildings initiatives, supporting them on the Better Buildings Alliance and a number of other programs that they have going on. And before that, I was in New York, working for New York Presbyterian Hospital. New York Presbyterian Hospital is a 10-time Partner of the Year award winner, give or take some sustained excellence, and I think 2 or 3 Partners of the Year awards. So I had a unique experience working in a healthcare environment and now transitioning into higher education. So that's, by way of background, a little bit about me. So I really enjoy energy management, and I'm looking forward to what we have coming up ahead, which I'll share later on. Okay, so just to get us started here, some learning objectives. So I will bring you up to speed and share more about Northwestern University, who we are, how big we are, and what our program is all about, our Energy Star partnership. I will provide some high-level program objectives as they relate to the built environment. I'll share more about our Energy Star story and some of the challenges that we faced for the past 3 years as we were, since our partnership, and how we've progressed and incorporated the tools and resources and so forth. Then we'll talk a little bit about some of the energy efficiency projects that supported our conservation efforts. And lastly, I shared our campus engagement efforts at the Commercial and Industrial Partner Meeting at the Partner of the Year Award ceremony. So I'm just going to reiterate some of those points that I made at that meeting. So about Northwestern, we are located in the city of Evanston and city of Chicago in Illinois. We have about 15 million square feet of space, over 200 acres, and just to put that into perspective, that is about the equivalent of 3 Sears towers, so we're quite large. Our average age of our buildings are in the 1940s, so we have some old stock of buildings, lots of opportunities. The oldest being the University Hall with about 31,000 square feet of space, serving it's mostly for education. It was built in 1869, and our newest building, recently commissioned in 2017, it is a 147,000 square foot residence hall for over 420 students. So Sustaining You is Northwestern's comprehensive and inclusive sustainability program that was formally launched in 2016. Our mission is to engage our students, our faculty and staff in reducing and eventually eliminating Northwestern's contribution to climate change. And we're seeing a bit of a delay here. Okay. And just to provide some background on our strategic sustainability plan, which was released in October of 2017, the plan sets the overarching framework for individual action plans that are set forth in these 5 program areas. Today we'll primarily touch on the built environment. I will not address the other 4 programs, but this just provides some context in terms of the breadth and scope of our sustainability efforts at Northwestern. The plan is a product of a collective and engaged community with support from over 300 faculty, students, and staff members that support one or more of these program areas. The sustainability plan is aligned with the university's We Will strategic plan, which focuses on contributing to the solutions for renewable energy and a sustainable environment, integrating learning and experience, connecting with our community, and engaging the world. So we're well aligned in terms of institutional priorities. A bit about our built environment. Our overall vision is to improve the built environment so that we can lessen our harm to the environment, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We have 5 key areas of focus in the program, and today I'll primarily just touch on the energy objectives. So some of those objectives include a commitment that we made also in 2015, and that was to reduce our campus energy use intensity by 20% by 2020 from a 2010 baseline. We want to improve our water efficiency. We're working on auditing our water data so that we can have an informed water conservation plan. We've also set some carbon neutrality goals. We want to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by 2030 and be net zero by 2050. And we're currently in the process of structuring a climate action planning committee to define the goals, the strategies that we will need to incorporate in order to meet that net zero. We're also looking at improving the efficiency of our existing buildings through a retro-commissioning program. Okay, so the implementation roadmap is a complementary document that supports each of the program areas identified in the sustainability plan. The implementation roadmap just calls out our objectives and our strategies and actions for how we're going to achieve those objectives. And so I hope you can see the screen. You will notice that one of our objectives was to implement an ongoing energy management program. And so what we've done is we've taken a look at Energy Star's guidelines for energy management, which contains a step-by-step roadmap for continuous improvement. It's based on best practices from the nation's leaders in energy management, and that's, if you recall, that list that Walt had earlier with all the Partner of the Year awardees. So we've pretty much taken those guidelines and incorporated them into our implementation roadmap. And so we basically have the 7 main steps. We've made our commitment, we have a policy, we have an energy efficiency committee to inform decisions around where the conservation opportunities are, managing the energy cost variances, and so forth. So we're constantly assessing performance. We're looking at our portfolio manager data, looking at our energy use intensity as a key performance indicator. We've set goals, we're tracking our action plans, we're in the process of implementation, and the evaluation is continuous as the program continues. And we're recognizing achievements where feasible. So Energy Star is definitely the building block, the backbone to our energy management program. So a bit about our story, and so by way of these small little images, I'm going to do my best to summarize our journey to Partner of the Year. So in 2015, we partnered with Energy Star and began utilizing Portfolio Manager for energy benchmarking. The Energy Star logo pretty much distinguished the university as a partner, and we made sure that the logo was on our website, and we had a few of our communication materials where we incorporated the logo at the bottom border of our newsletter and so forth. We had it on our email. Yay, we're Energy Star partner. And in December of that year, we applied for Partner of the Year, but unfortunately we did not win. In our briefings with our Energy Star representatives, we learned that our communications and engagement efforts were not strong enough. And as Walt talked about this earlier, Energy Star wants to know how you're leveraging the resources and tools that they're making available that obviously have been implemented by other partners that have successfully provided the outreach and engagement from internal stakeholders, external community partners, and members of the residences that live within that wherever you're situated. So we didn't have enough of that engagement effort. We didn't leverage the tools, and so that was the primary reason why we did not win in 2015. So in 2016, we pretty much went through the Rolodex of resources. We've identified all the tools that we could use, the campaigns that were available, the calculators and so forth, all the materials, so that basically through the understanding of what was available, we would then develop our communication and engagement programming. So we restructured our Green Office Certification Program to incorporate Energy Star's Bring Your Green to Work. We launched campus energy audits utilizing Energy Star's treasure hunt guides, and we provided pamphlets to host city community members sharing best practices for how they can conserve energy at home. And I have some pictures later on and some more tangible examples of how that worked. We applied and did not win. So in 2016, we learned that our data was not up to par. Although we were benchmarking, we really did not have a good handle on the metering structure, all the utility accounts. I mean, we're talking about thousands of data points that we're tracking on a month-to-month basis for 222 buildings. So it's a very laborious process that wasn't quite understood, and Energy Star realized that that was a weak point for us, so we did not win. So in 2017, we partnered up with Elevate Energy, a local energy consulting firm, to help us understand our energy use, audit our data, help us normalize, and try to find all the data sets required to have a clean, robust, and informed, transparent portfolio manager account. That was a year-long process. It was very laborious. It required internal, external partner support to identify building square footage, occupancy rates, plug loads, general building demographics, accounts, meters, and the list goes on, and I'll talk more about the energy data audit effort. We completed that. We normalized our data. We validated our energy use intensity. We also supported the Battle of the Buildings. We shared our story through internal newsletter outlets and third-party publications. We talked about Energy Star, why it's important for us as an institution, so that everyone can learn from our efforts. And then we wrapped up some projects, we applied, and third time was a charm, we won. So that's our story. Long-winded, but lots of lessons learned through that process. So why Energy Star? This is a long list of, why we felt Energy Star was a great organization to partner up with. Using their portfolio manager tool allows us to take a look at a bird's eye view, what's going on with our building energy use. It's allowing us to identify outliers, help invest our dollars where we are having the most need for efficiency measures. We're tracking progress on implemented projects, and I'll talk more about those projects later on. We're looking at performance. Now we have an Energy Star score that has been validated, gone through that audit process. It supports our sustainability efforts and all of the benchmarking ordinances that we have going on at the City of Chicago and Evanston, so now we can disclose data that has been audited and normalized. And we also are supporting other national challenges that tap into the same data. So we're also very thankful that Energy Star has recognized Northwestern for its efforts, so there's that recognition piece as well. So a little bit about our built environment projects. We had a 7-year energy performance contract that pretty much wrapped up at the end of 2017. So now we are realizing the energy savings from the projects that we implemented portfolio-wide. So we had some lab space upgrades. We have a ton of research space on campus. We installed lab hood sensors. We looked at replacing constant air volume, so variable air volume wherever possible. We installed air acuity, which allowed us to set back air exchanges in unoccupied lab spaces, so that's rendering some significant savings for us. We also looked at the heating plant. We've added variable frequency drives and force strength bands. We've upgraded several boiler systems. We also incorporated, we launched a campus-wide lighting upgrade. Last summer, we completed a exterior LED installation with dimmable controls, so all of our roadway lights have been upgraded. We also were reaping the benefits of a steam trap repair and replacement program that started in 2013. So that is avoiding about a $2 million cost a year just from having that program in place. And lastly, the energy data audit was a huge undertaking. And so I wanted to make sure that that was addressed in the conservation piece. Our overall building portfolio, this data came from that energy data audit. We realized that 75% of our buildings are residence halls, dormitories, office spaces, college university buildings, and single-family homes that are technically admin spaces in these older boutique-type homes. The energy data that we audited and our new portfolio manager allowed us to take a look at a lot of our LEED buildings, LEED certified buildings. So now we're able to measure and verify the energy savings that were modeled for those projects. So it's a great tool to help your project managers know if they're meeting their targets. We're also now, through the energy data audit, we were able to realize that more than 60% of the eligible buildings within our portfolio can apply for an Energy Star certification and get that recognition for the energy savings. Right now, we're in that process of validating those buildings for certification. And then again, the energy data audit was completed and was finalized, and the results of normalizing our data, mapping out our meters, and understanding true building utilization, we realized that we had a 12% energy use intensity reduction from 2012 to 2017, while even adding over 800,000 square feet of space. So we're well on our way in terms of achieving our energy conservation goals. So what's on the horizon for us presently with projects? We're currently auditing our waste and water data so that we can incorporate that into Portfolio Manager so we can have the full trifecta going on there. We're also looking at the Energy Star building certification process right now. We're still unsure if we're going to certify all 60% of the properties or just a handful, just to understand the process and get our operations team on board with what that means. We're also in the process of launching an energy management information system with Lucid Building OS. So really excited about this platform, which will create greater transparency of our energy utilization for our campus community, our students, most importantly. And then the retro commissioning program will be on the horizon. Okay, so here's how we're currently engaging our community through energy efficiency, utilizing Energy Star's tools and resources. The Energy Star booth, so Earth Month provides a great opportunity for us to engage our students, our faculty and staff members, and providing more transparency and visibility into our partnership with Energy Star and sharing why it's important. And we're also asking them and interacting with them in terms of what are they doing to be more energy efficient at home, at work, in their classroom spaces and their residential spaces. So it's a fun way to engage with them and share what's going on internally and help them engage level of awareness as well, so you have that educational opportunity in that process. We also utilize the Energy Star event booth. We have in the city of Evanston, which is a very green city, each year, sometime in September, there's this Green Streets Alive festival where we're able to reserve the Energy Star booth and talk about our efforts at Northwestern and how we're supporting, how we're mitigating climate change, talk about our projects, and here are just some fun pictures of our team engaging with the community. You'll see we use the hand crank, the hand-powered generator, which is fun for the kids. It's a great way to engage them and talk to them about energy efficiency. We use the coloring books, the Spider-Man and the Lorax. I think they're still around. So just another way to utilize Energy Star's tools to engage the external community members. Battle of the Buildings, Energy Star provided a lot of decals, communication collateral that we could use and adopt and brand so that it was personal to us. We had 5 energy-intensive laboratory buildings participate in the Battle of the Buildings. Unfortunately, we did not win, but it was a fun competition. We used these materials in our digital displays and buildings, posters. We had these Shut the Stash stickers that we created and had the students pretty much go around the lab buildings and placing on the fume hoods, educating them in terms of how much energy is wasted by keeping the fume hoods open. We had a lot of social media push, a lot of newsletters, a lot of presentations to the several constituents in the community. Here are other materials that we utilized. Overall, it's a very successful program, and we're hoping to launch a Green Labs certification program, again, utilizing a lot of the materials that Energy Star provides. And that's about it.
Thanks, Kat. So we're actually going to take questions at the end because I want to make sure we get time to get through all the presentations. If you have a question for Kat, type it into the chat window now, and then when we do the Q&A at the end, we'll come back to your questions. So I'm going to move on now to our next speaker, but Kat, thank you very much for that interesting story. I know I have a few questions for you, but I'll hold them until we get to the end. So Jim, I'm going to bring up your presentation, and I'm going to give you the speaking controls, and you can tell us your Energy Star journey. There we go.
Okay.
Should be in the driver's seat now.
All right. Thank you very much, Walt and Kat. An excellent job. Really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to let us tell you about what we're doing here at Olin Brass. I'm going to start with a couple slides that will talk about the history and position of our company and operations and markets to give you a little bit of idea about Olin Brass and who we are, and then we'll move right into our energy conservation journey. So Olin Brass was founded in 1918. We've been around a long time. We're the largest North American supplier for copper and copper alloy sheet and coil form. We're the 3rd largest in the world. We manufacture more than 60 copper-based alloys, which includes 15 specially designed alloys by our Metals Research Laboratory. And internationally, our business accounts for approximately 14% of our total adjusted sales. We have 6 plants in the United States and employ about 1,100 people. In East Alton, Illinois, which is right across the Mississippi River from St. Louis, Missouri, we have a casting plant and brass mill. Then we have a plant in Bryan, Ohio, Bryan Metals, which specializes in re-roll. Also in East Alton, we have a fabricating and cupping operation. In Cuba, Missouri, we have a fine weld tube operation that manufactures welded tube from our strip. And then out on the East Coast in Waterbury, Connecticut, we have a Summers Thin Strip that specializes in copper and copper alloy strip, including stainless steel foil products. On the right side of the slide, Olin Brass Mill Products, that's the casting plant and the brass mill. So the casting plant, brass mill, and Bryan Metals feeds the different streams listed there in the center. A.J. Oster is a sister company of ours that's owned by the same holding company that owns Olin Brass. And you can see the markets that we service: automotive, electronics, the ordnance, coinage. We supply metal to the U.S. Mint for nickels, dimes, quarters, and dollars. Building and construction, some miscellaneous stamping, electrical, and the energy markets. So in 2009, with the downturn in the economy, it almost caused Olin Brass to close its doors. We were struggling at that time, and there were several upper management changes that were made, which included a new casting plant and brass mill vice president of manufacturing and engineering, a gentleman named Bill Fouch. He came to us from Hendrickson Truck Suspension Systems. Hendrickson is an Energy Star partner. And the first 4 bullets that you see on this slide came from corporate. Bill added the last 4, which dealt with sustainability. So I want to emphasize the fact that our energy conservation initiatives did not start at the corporate level, but it started at a lower level in the company and only at 2 of our 6 plants. So Bill chartered energy teams at both of his plants that he was responsible for. He had the 2 team leaders, which I was one of them. I'm in the brass mill. And he sent us up and we benchmarked Hendrickson, which was a good thing since we didn't really have a clue as to what we were doing. The teams were launched on January 13th, 2011. And the first step was establishing a charter to make sure everybody was headed in the right direction. We were all aligned and we were committed. This is the brass mill team charter. I'd like to call your attention to the lower box. It's entitled Key Milestones and Financial Impact. Bill actually, what he was requesting us to do was to reduce our energy intensity by 15% in 5 years, which I wasn't sure exactly how we were going to be able to do that, since the industry we're in, metals manufacturing company, is very energy intensive. We established a team in both plants. I approached one of our union leaders, since he knew our shop floor associates better than I did, especially on a personal level. I mean, we needed a good cross-functional representation on this team, and we needed to touch every area of the plant. But we also needed people who enjoyed doing outside activities in nature, such as fishing, hiking, boating, hunting, that sort of thing. People who were passionate about protecting the environment for themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. And we ended up with a good, as you can see, we ended up with a good cross-functional team, and I might add, very passionate team. We baselined our energy usage in 2010. This is what our spend was, and you can see electricity was the big dog that we were dealing with. So we tackled electricity first. We paraded our usage points, and the first big bar was the rolling mill general, and it really didn't give us by looking at that, we couldn't tell what was going on, because we didn't know where our energy was being used. So the first thing we had to do was identify where we should install meters and get them installed. And as a team, we recognized that if we were going to accomplish what Bill had directed us to do, we could not do it without the help of every associate in the plant. So we did a lot of simple things, just getting signs hung up on light switches. As you can see, one of the signs we tied in one of the products that was made from our strip. We also tried to recognize good behavior out in the plant. We started with Cliff Heath bars. That wasn't too well accepted, but then when we moved to candy bars, it was really amazing what people will do for a candy bar. So, in fact, we're still doing that almost 6 years later. We, of course, came up with a slogan. We got the slogan on a lot of different things like pins and shirts and things like that. Hendrickson, when we benchmarked them, they recommended first and foremost that we become an Energy Star partner to help develop our energy management program. So that's what we did, and we became an Energy Star partner in April of 2011. In 2013, got a little bit of a delay here, sorry. In 2013, we attended the Industrial Focuses and Industrial Partner meeting in Washington, D.C., and we did something a little unique. We brought shop floor associates with us. And what's really neat about going and attending this event is we got to learn from other partners who were the best of the best. What was really great was how other partners were willing to go out of their way in helping us with our journey and how to implement a successful program. The people who attended brought back great ideas and were very excited about implementing what they had learned. Touching on a few things that we picked up, treasure hunts. And in a nutshell, you gather your data, you look at where you're spending your energy dollars, you find a way to, you go out in the plant, it's usually like a 3-day event, and you find waste reduction ideas from the shop floor. And what's really another advantage to a treasure hunt is the fact that a lot of the ideas are little or no cost to eliminate. This slide shows a communication slide for one of our monthly communication meetings where we kept everyone abreast of the status of the ideas that were developed from the treasure hunt. This slide is one of the Energy Star matrix. It's another tool that really helped us. This matrix identifies the 23 key activities for a successful energy management program. And when we started, most of our activities were in the first column with little or no evidence. We had a couple that fell into the second column with some elements. But, I mean, that's okay. You need to understand where you are and then plan on what your next steps are going to be to get to the fully implemented column. This is an excellent tool to use, annually to see where you are and then to plan for future year or years, the steps that you want to take, and then also with prioritizing your action plan. The third and final tool that I'd like to talk about is the challenge for industry. We accepted the challenge for a 10% reduction in 5 years, and we're very proud that we accomplished it in 4 years. The bottom line there is a percent reduction since 2010, so you can kind of see how we did. And, there was that 2011 was only a 2.2% improvement. We were learning and kind of fumbling our way around, and then once we started learning things and with our relationship especially with Energy Star, you can see it just took off. So 11.4% in 4 years. This is also a great motivational tool. In fact, to maybe try to demonstrate this point, I'd like to share something that happened about a month after we submitted the necessary verification paperwork to the EPA that we had achieved the challenge. And I'm not going to get this, I'm not going to have this conversation word for word, but I'll do the best I can. But I was heading out the gate of our plant, and another Bill, but this is Bill Toller, our president at that time, was driving in. And as he drove in, he rolled down his window and stopped me. And it was wintertime, so I had to roll my window down. And he said something like this. He said, "Hey, Jim, I received a letter from the U.S. EPA. During my former life at an aluminum strip manufacturing company, when I received letters from the EPA, it was not a good thing. It was always bad news. So when I received this letter, my heart just dropped. When I opened it, and it was a letter congratulating me on the brass mill achieving the challenge, I could not believe it. And he congratulated me and congratulated the brass mill team. So from a motivational standpoint, it definitely impacted me. And then when I shared that with the brass mill, and in fact later when Bill Toller shared it with the brass mill, motivational is definitely a motivational tool. And I also believe that it motivated Bill Toller. Bill Toller did a great job during his tenure. We have a different president now, but during his tenure he did an excellent job of supporting our energy conservation effort. In fact, based on this brass mill results, we ended up with a corporate energy team, a corporate and plant energy organization, was spawned from the work that had been done at the ground floor level in the brass mill. Our president right now, Dale Taylor, he's the champion and also the corporate energy team leader. The yellow boxes on both sides of the big circle are all the functional areas, and also we utilize external resources sometimes on the team. And then across the bottom are the 6 plant teams. The commitment statement was originally written for just 2 of the plants, and as you can see now, it's a corporate commitment statement. This is a shot of our intranet website, which was rolled out a couple of years back. And the reason I got a picture of this is on the right side is a message from John Waz, who is the CEO of Global Brass and Copper Holdings, Inc. They're the company that owns Olin Brass, and he fully supports what we're doing. And we have 2 sister companies. I mentioned one of them at the beginning, A.J. Oster, but also Chase Brass, which is also located in Ohio. We are going to be involving them and telling them what we've been doing, and hopefully encourage them to become an Energy Star partner also, so that they can realize some of the accomplishments that we have. We held our first Energy Summit this past year. It involved only the 6 energy team plant leaders. This year we're going to expand that to include more people from each of the plants, and we're also hopefully going to include another Energy Star Partner of the Year. We've already begun discussions about that. Receiving the world-class recognition, I mean, that's just awesome. On the top left corner, you can see Bill Toller receiving our 2017. I got a shot of the Olin Brass website on the right side of this slide. You can see the picture there is the number of people that went to Washington, D.C. to accept the 2017 award. In 2018, you can see that contingent has grown considerably, and that was because Bill Toller asked why we had not taken more people from the shop floor. I mean, after all, they're the ones that are making the decisions on when to turn an energy source on and when to shut it off. This is just a shot from out in our plant, one of our strip anneals. You can see that energy is right up there alongside our safety banner and our continuous improvement banner. We also have some internal awards. On the left side is the Presidential Green Initiative Award, and that is given to the plant that shows the largest sustainability improvement year over year. And then on the right side is the Shining Star Award, which is given to any plant that has shown an energy intensity reduction. This year, 5 of our 6 plants will be receiving that award. There's a display case shown in one of our plants here. We're proud of what we're accomplishing, a lot of pride out on the floor. And of course, what it's all about is lowering our carbon footprint and making our company more profitable. You can see that we've saved a little over $6.5 million since 2011 on energy conservation, and also a good chunk on water conservation.